Hello and welcome back to Firstsales tutorial series. Now if you've been following along through our previous videos, you would have already learned all of the skills necessary to follow along this video. But if you haven't, I would invite you to go back and watch all those videos first so that you can learn those skills and apply them now that we are ready to start our first campaign inside of Firstsales. Without further ado, let's get started. First thing we want to do is go ahead and log into Firstsales. You're gonna go ahead and click on campaigns and we'll click on create new campaign. Here we'll add a name to our campaign. You have an option to name it any which way you want to. The way I like to do it is if I'm working for a client, we'll say client name like you see here. Or if you're doing this for your own business and not for a client, you can just add a designation, industry, and location. So for our sample, we're going to say CXOs in the SaaS industry in the US. Go ahead and click continue. Now this screen is going to look a little bit familiar if you've been following along. This is a segmentation screen. What we're saying here is that, hey, Firstsales, I've created a new campaign and I want to send this campaign to these specific people. Now the way that we do that is we click add an and block. Now we'll go to condition and we'll say the contacts that I want to send this campaign to are in this list, and we'll select this list. There are any number of combinations for segmentations that you can use to send your campaign. Campaigns in Firstsales are evergreen. What does that mean? That means that if you have, for an example, this setup right here, anyone that you add to this list in the future, as long as your campaign is active, we'll start this campaign for them, and Firstsales will send them emails according to your settings. Just keep that in mind, that as you add more contacts, you don't need to add new campaigns for those contacts. You can simply add them to this list, or add them to a segment, or add them to any sort of combination that you have here, and this campaign will trigger for those contacts as long as they meet the requirements. Now we're going to click on create campaign right here, and we're going to go into the campaign creation screen. Now first was the contacts, which is what we already did. I'll go back so you can see what that looks like. Firstsales is already working on adding more contacts into this campaign right here. This process may take a few minutes depending on the size of your list. Now the second step is adding mail accounts. These are the mail accounts that you're going to use for sending email. We've added a few during our tutorial series, so we'll go ahead and pick them. You can pick as many email accounts as you want. You can select 1, 2, or 3, all of them right here, and these email accounts will be auto-rotated according to their global sending limits. Remember, the sending limits are global for that specific account only. So let's say we had this account, which is brand new, and it's set to maximum 50 emails. Then you have this other account that's set to maximum 100 emails. If this account has been exhausted at email number 50, Firstsales will automatically rotate to the next one that's available as long as it's selected here in the campaign. Now, if for whatever reason you don't want to use a certain email account in a campaign, all you have to do is deselect it and you're good to go. The next step, number 3, is the options. Now here you have the option to send a CC or BCC of each email that's being sent out of this campaign to a certain email address. And the one thing that you do have to remember and look into is this reply to box. Now if we go back to the mail accounts, you'll notice that we have 2 or 3 different email accounts, right? So in this case, let's say we're reaching out as Oscar. We're going to add the Oscar accounts right here. And under options, when somebody replies to an email, I want them to reply to my main email so that I can get their replies and start a conversation with them, start engaging with them. So on reply to, I will say Oscar at firstsales.io. So what's going to happen here, for every email that is sent on this campaign, no matter which sending account it sends from, whenever somebody replies to that email, that reply, if they click just reply on their email client, that reply is going to be sent to my main email account, and I'll be able to engage with that lead. Now here are some other important options: tracking clicks and tracking opens. You can also have the option to send a text only email. What this means is that when you send an email and it's text only, there are no tracking codes, there are no links, none of that fancy stuff. Sometimes it is advisable to send text only emails. If you're trying to, for an example, send emails to a very difficult lead that you must land on inbox, that have heavy spam trigger filters, such as AOL or even Yahoo, tends to have really high spam filters. It is helpful for you to send text only ones. Also, if you don't care about tracking links or tracking clicks or tracking opens, you can send text only. Text only emails tend to land on the inbox more often than not because they're text only, and email clients see that as a very friendly move, and they'll most likely put it in the inbox. So you'll have a higher inboxing rate when you send text only. The disadvantage of that is that if somebody clicks on a link or if somebody opens the email, you will have no idea because you are not tracking it. If you are sending your first cold outreaching campaign, it is very important that you get these statistics such as link clicks or open. So you want to make sure that you are using HTML, that you are tracking the clicks, that you are tracking the opens, and you're not sending text only, because you will get zero statistics. You will have no idea if your leads are engaging with your email content or not. So it is important that you do track the clicks, you track the opens for your first campaign. Now the other option you see here is the prioritization. You can either prioritize sending new emails or prioritizing sending follow-ups. What does this mean? So inside a campaign, let's say you have an email sending account with a maximum of 50 emails a day. And for this particular campaign, you have, let's say, 200 prospects that you need to send emails to. Now the first day, it will send the 200 emails because they're all new. It will send the 50 emails. It will use all of the email credits for those specific accounts that you have chosen. The next day, when you're trying to send a follow-up, does it prioritize sending to other contacts of those 200, or does it prioritize following up with the contacts that it already contacted beforehand? This is what prioritization actually means. Now, if you're prioritizing new ones, then 80% of your email credits for the day will go to the new contacts. But if you're prioritizing follow-ups, 80% of your email credits for the day will go toward follow-ups and 20% will go to new. So these two are interchangeable. Now, if you don't want to prioritize anything, you can click here and then it will do 50-50. It will do 50% new and 50% follow-ups, and there you have it. I like to set it as prioritizing follow-ups because generally in sales, it takes 5 or 6 follow-ups before you can actually get a conversation going with the prospect. Now that you have added this, you're going to click Save Options, and then we'll move on to step number 4. Now step number 4 here is very crucial. This time zone that you see here, this is my current time zone, and when you are going to Firstsales and you're adding your first campaign, you're going to see that the time zone selected here is your own. Now, if I'm reaching out to prospects that are in my own time zone, that's totally cool. But if I'm reaching out to prospects that are, for an example, I'm in LA, but I'm reaching out to somebody in Europe or Asia, or I'm reaching out to somebody in Brazil, for an example, I would want to change the time zone to match that list that I'm sending. This is why when we name our list, when we name our campaigns, when we do all these things, we always add the location so that we can understand that, hey, these are CXOs from SaaS companies inside the US, so we want to make sure that we use a US time zone. For an example, if I'm in India and I'm reaching out to people in the US, I want to reach out to them in their time zone. Obviously, you don't want to send people an email at 2 in the morning because guess what? They're not going to be there to read it. So in our case, we're sending to US, and I'm already in the US time zone. When I'm sending in the US time zone, I do like to change this to East. So we'll say East, US Eastern, because the Eastern time zone starts early and ends early, and it does encompass all of the other time zones within the United States, of which there are 3. Now, as you can see here, when I change the time zone to US East, it shows me here, Firstsales shows me here what the time and end date is at this specific time zone, and it's warning me that my time zone is this one. I can click here to use it if I for some reason made a mistake, but I'm cool with it. I want to use US Eastern, so we'll go with that. Now the next step here in the Smart Scheduler is the schedule settings. You can click here and use the normal settings, which are best practices, to send emails Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Send 15 emails per email sending account. And then take a break, and after 2 p.m. start sending again. So from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is pretty much encompassing the entire workday, send another 20 emails per email sending account. You can customize this schedule to your liking at any point of time. You can click on custom, and now you will see new options where you can either change the timing or you can change the number of emails. Now, if you're trying to add a bunch of emails over here, we are going to warn you that, hey, make sure that your email is warmed up if you're going to send this number of emails within this short period of time. Again, it's just another way that Firstsales protects you from getting banned, protects you from getting blacklisted, protects you from getting your account suspended and landing on the spam box rather than landing on the inbox. That is the ultimate goal of Firstsales, for you to send campaigns that ultimately land on inbox so that you can do business. Now you can add more intervals here. So let's say from 8 a.m. to 1, let's say you want to make this 12, and then from 1 to 2, let's say people are at lunchtime, so you don't want to send them any emails. And then from 2 to, let's say, 5 here, you're going to send 10 emails. And at the end of the day, since people are kind of rushing out, you want to catch them before they go home, and you want to send them 25 emails just in case they're looking to, hey, quickly get rid of their emails on a Monday so that they can start the next day clean. You send them a whole bunch of emails here, and then you'll probably catch them. Now this here, the scheduling, this can change over time, however which way you want. If you notice that more of your prospects in a specific industry or from a specific list are opening emails in the morning, then you may want to send more emails in the morning, right? Firstsales is more flexible in that way. You can add intervals as many as you like. You can send them on whichever days that you like. So for an example, if you want to start sending them over the weekend, you can say copy to all days. And now you will see here that it will copy to all of the days, including the weekends. Now, if you don't want to bother people on Saturday and Sunday, because they probably don't work on Saturday or Sunday, then you just get rid of that and it will save automatically, or you can click save if it's there, and you're good to go. The next step in the campaign process is sequences. Now, when we talk about sequences, you have to remember one thing. This is where you add your copy for your emails. Now, all you need to do is click on sequences and click on the first email. You'll be able to add your subject line, your preview text, and your copy right here. Now, if you want AI to write the email for you, all you need to do is go to the AI form right here. It's going to ask you a few details about what you're doing, what your offer is, and who you are trying to target, and what your ultimate goal is for this campaign. For this demo campaign, we're going to use the demo data. And for the tone, you can change it. I like using a sarcastic tone. That one usually gives us some pretty good results with the AI. I'm happy with this. You can test your input here if you want to, but I'm quite happy with this. So now I'll just go back to sequences, and then I'll say, hey AI, I want you to write this subject line for me. So all you need to do is click here, and the AI is going to go ahead and write that subject line for you. Now, it may take a second or two depending on how busy OpenAI is. We are using GPT 3.5 at the moment. We're about to upgrade to GPT 4.0, which has just been released about a week ago from OpenAI. We already have access to it. We're already testing it. And as you can see, even GPT 3.5 is doing a great job. GPT 4 is going to be even more amazing when it comes to adding subject lines, pretext, and all the other good stuff that we have AI do. Now for the preview text, all you need to do is the same thing. You go here, you click on this button, and now it's going to take into consideration whatever it wrote on the subject line. It's going to be relevant here as context for your preview text. What is the preview text? So when you are adding emails, when you're sending emails, if you notice, let's check Gmail for an example. So if you get an email from somebody, you have 3 pieces of information in the inbox. You have the name of the person who sent it, the subject line, which is in bold here in Gmail, and then you have this here, kind of like grayish text. This here is the preview text. It's kind of a sneak peek. People will decide if they want to open their email, your email or not, based on this preview text. That's why you want to make sure that this preview text is relevant to whatever your subject line is. Now, the next cool thing about what we're doing here at FS with AI is that we're taking into account the subject line and the preview text to generate a greeting for you. So all you have to do is click in here, say AI greeting. Now it's going to go back to OpenAI. It's going to grab whatever the AI has written, and it's going to come back and write it here on Firstsales. Here you have your greeting. Now you say AI content. So it can generate the rest of your email. And then all of a sudden, you'll have a full email that you can send out to your prospect list, no problem. The next thing I want to show you is custom fields. So let's say you want to personalize your email campaign. The way you do that is, let's say you want to say hey, and you want to add the person's name, right? So we're going to go into custom fields here, and we're going to say we want to add the first name. Now, in default value, this is an optional value. That means that if there is no first name, you want to say this. So what most people will add here will be like there. So it would say like, hey there, or hello there, if in case you don't have the person's first name. If you have the person's first name in the list, it will say their first name. So we'll say, hey there, as default. And this is what the code actually looks like. Now you don't have to remember this code at all or anything like that. All you need to do is click here, copy. You're gonna go right here and you're gonna paste that. That's it. So now what it's gonna do is for every single one of those contacts, it's gonna say, hey, Oscar, or hey, Udit, or hey, Maria, or whatever it is, whatever their first name is, it's gonna say there. Now don't forget to go ahead and add your signature at the bottom of the email, and you're good to go. This email is done. Now, if you want to send a follow-up, all you need to do is go ahead and add a step, click inside this email, and if you notice, you cannot change the subject line. Why? Because Firstsales is the first software of its kind that's going to grab the thread from the email that it already sent to you before and use that to create a thread of emails as you're sending the follow-up. Why is this important? It's totally important because when you're sending a follow-up as RE, as in a reply, replying to, that has a way higher chance of hitting the inbox than something that is just randomly following up, or maybe even having a different subject line or something like that. So in conclusion, if you've hit the inbox the first time, there is almost a 99 to 100% chance that you will hit the inbox the next time with your follow-up if you're using the threaded follow-up function. And Firstsales does that by default. It's an amazing tool, and it's going to allow you to hit that inbox and get in touch with your prospects more often than not. So one thing you can change here is the preview text if you want to. I would say that for follow-ups, you don't need to, so we can skip on that. But you can add a follow-up right here. Let me just say greeting. And then you can, same situation here. If you're working on a follow-up and you see this email right here, this greeting and this entire email that is about to write the AI right now, it's formatted in the way, and it's written in such a way that it is a follow-up. So it's not just going to randomly generate whatever cold email. It's going to read whatever was written over here, and it's going to try to continue that line of conversation. That is highly important, because otherwise people will figure out that you're using AI to send these emails. Now, if you have your own copy for, that you've written, or you have copywriters that write copy for you for your emails, that's totally cool. You don't need to use the AI features. AI feature is there in case that you need it. Most people like to write their own emails. They like to test out. The way I like to do it is we can write our own copy, and then we can also use AI to help us enhance that process at the same time. The cool thing about Firstsales is that you can test absolutely everything. You can A/B split test even just this one email right here. We could say A/B test this step. Now it's generated a copy of this email. If you want to generate a different subject line, you just delete this right here and just generate a new one, or add your second subject line from your copy data. And then you can just generate the entire thing. You can generate multiple ones, seeing which one does best for this list. And then once you found out that one is good, you can disable this variant. Let's say this was the best one, and we'll send this to the rest of the leads from now on, right? Make sure that you are using data to make those decisions, and the only way to do that is for you to test. Now let's say that you want to add more follow-ups. So let's say you want to follow up this after 1 day, and then after 2 days. You can add as many follow-ups as you possibly want, depending on the campaign, depending on who you're reaching out to and what you're trying to do. It is highly recommended that you add at least 5 or 6 follow-ups inside your sequence to make sure that you are getting the most amount of chance for you to be able to get in touch with these people, get in touch with your prospect, making sure that you can reach them at the point of where they are comfortable and they actually want to engage with you and do business with you. So I would recommend that you do at least 5 follow-ups, 6 follow-ups, and you rotate them and you A/B split test them to make sure that you are sending the highest converting copy to the full list, to your rest of the list, for as long as you want to run this campaign. Now, let's say you have an entire sequence right here, and you want to A/B test the entire sequence with a different sequence, right? All you need to do is click this button right here, and what Firstsales is going to do is it's going to create a B sequence, and now you start with the fresh canvas, and you can add an entire new sequence right here. So let's say I did sarcastic for A, and then for B, now all of a sudden I want the AI to give me something, let's say something more professional, right? And then we'll save that. We'll go to sequences. We'll go to first email. On the B side, and we'll say generate some subject line. This will be a more professional one. As you can see, the difference between this and this, right? This is very sarcastic, pretty funny, more laid back, and this is more of a professional tone, right? As you can see, I'm adding right here, based on the subject line. Here you have a very professional looking preview text, right? This is the gist of it. This is, in a nutshell, how the AI copywriter works and how you can add sequences to Firstsales with follow-ups. Again, I will highly recommend that you add up to at least 5 or 6 follow-ups for your email campaigns. That's what statistics showing. That's what we've seen consistently in our own testing that actually works. Prospects are generally going to open your first, second, or third email, not really take many actions. But by the 4th or 5th one, if you played your cards right, you should be able to get some more replies. You should be able to get some more engagements, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get them to click on a demo link, to get on a demo with you, or to get on a sales call with you, or to maybe check out a video of how your product or service works, something like that, that usually takes about 1 or 2 follow-ups. It could take 5 or 6. Don't give up. Send more follow-ups until either they say, you know what, stop contacting me or something like that. That's totally fine. Then you stop contacting them. Another thing is that for every email that you send, Firstsales is going to allow them to opt out. So if they no longer want to hear from you, they don't have to scream at you or anything like that. They don't have to block you. They don't have to tag you as spam or anything like that. They can just hit unsubscribe, and that unsubscribe button is going to allow them to unsubscribe, and they will not receive any emails from your campaign. Again, that is very handy, because if somebody is annoyed by you or by your email outreach, and the only option that you give them is for them to mark you as spam, they will mark you as spam, and that's only going to hurt you when you're trying to reach out to other contacts that are probably interested in what you have to say, right? So play your cards right, do the smart way, write it here in Firstsales, send it using Firstsales, and allow them to unsubscribe if they want to unsubscribe. That is solely up to them. That's about it for sequences. Let's move on to some other very, very important screens here, which are the sending queue and the analytics. Let's start with sending queue. Now the sending queue is one of my favorite screens in the campaign editor. Why? Because as a sales professional, I like to have full control and full visibility of my entire cold emailing efforts, right? So obviously we wanted to incorporate this into Firstsales. It's one of my favorite screens in the entire app. And it basically shows you in a single pane of glass everything that's going on in terms of sending your emails inside this particular campaign in Firstsales. It's going to show you the contacts that are available for sending on this campaign and which ones have already been used in the campaign. If you're wondering why are my emails not sending or anything like that, there's no wondering anymore. With Firstsales, you're going to know, look, we're going to send this email in 7 hours at 8 in the morning in the US Eastern time zone. It tells you exactly what you need to know, and you know exactly everything that's going on inside this campaign in a single pane of glass right here. It's going to show you how many mail accounts you have for sending. Right now in the entire workspace we have 3, but in this campaign we're using 2, right? For an example, mail accounts for tracking. It also tells you right here all the statistics, right? This here is going to tell you when the next planning cycle will be. So what happens is the Firstsales takes a look at your campaign, and it will say, it will go through certain steps. Which contacts are there? Are there any contacts? Yes. Are there any email accounts? Yes. Are there the limits hit for those email accounts? Yes or no, right? So it goes through a certain cycle by cycle, and it's going to make decisions based on that if it's ready to send an email or not. Now I'm going to show you some statistics from another campaign that was already running a few days ago. We did for demo purposes. Let's go here, and we'll check out this sending queue that has a little bit of data in here. So when you see here, it's going to show you here all the emails that are being planned. They will show up here. It will have, we'll either say it will send a new sequence, or if there was anything wrong in the campaign. So for an example, let's say there's a follow-up set to be sent, but there's no follow-up content anymore, or the content has been deleted, as it is in this case. It will show here. When there are new emails that are planned, it will show here in this queue. When there are any emails that are currently executing, so trying to send right now in this campaign, it will show here. If anything's delayed for any reason, so let's say that you've reached your maximum number of emails that you want to send for that day for those specific accounts, that means that the rest of the emails that need to be sent are going to be delayed until the next day, right? Now, after they are delayed, they will resume, and when they are resuming, they will show here. That is the next step. If for some reason they failed, they will go back and be planned again and go back into the queue, right? Once something has been sent though, it will show up right here in this screen under the Sent tab. You can see here that it says follow-up sent, but not found yet in the sent mailbox. This is another cool feature of Firstsales that I want to kind of highlight. Firstsales is the only product of its kind that is not just taking their word for it when it comes to email providers, right? So when you're sending an email through SMTP or even through Gmail, Google Auth, there is a message that's sent back from the email provider. They will say, yes, we sent that email, right? But a lot of the times the request was okay, but they didn't really send the email. How do we know whether they actually sent the email or not? That is a good question. The only way for us to know is if we go back to the sent folder of that specific account and we see that email was sent. So Firstsales is not just going to tell you that, yeah, we sent it, right? Don't take our word for it. We want to make sure that this email was actually sent. So how do we make sure? Firstsales will say, okay, this was sent. Let me verify it. So Firstsales will go to the sent folder for that account and check to make sure that email is present in the sent folder. That means that it was sent, and now it will show up in the last tab, which is the done tab. As you can see here, this entire sequence is already done. If we click on this here, it will give us more details about, you know, which campaign it was, what the title of the campaign was, what mail account was used, and everything, all that good stuff. It's going to give you exact time, and then it's going to give you here a history of what happened. This first was added to the queue. Then, for some reason, the mail limits had been reached, so it could not send at this time. It planned it. It resumed it. Then the limit was reached again, so it couldn't send it. It resumed it, trying to execute. Now it was ready to execute, so it started. It sent it, and now it checked the mailbox. If it's in the sent box, confirm mail by check. And as you can see, it was here in the box, sent in Gmail. So now we have verified that this email was in fact sent. All those checks are done automatically by Firstsales. That's not something you need to worry about. So generally what I do is I go back to the queue here. I just checked it on the done ones. If there's anything that has failed, for an example, I check to make sure if it wasn't, you know, just hitting some kind of, mail limit or something like that. You know, we'll check that, and if we need to increase the limit for some reason, we can do that, right? Now, if we go back to our next one, which is our last tab here, which is the analytics tab, you can see all the analytics of your entire campaign right here, down to a granular level. Now, this screen right here may not look like much. This, again, this is a demo account, so there's not much here to show, but I will show you how powerful the analytics actually are. So if you want to show scope of analytics, just general right here, you can just click on any one of these and it will show you. In the last 7 days, these demo ones were sent on this day, these 4 ones. You can see that here, and if you go into activity feed, you'll be able to see which contacts were outreach and at what time, right? Now, if you want to see specific analytics for either a different campaign, or if you want to see if a specific sequence is performing well or not, so you say sequence A versus sequence B, or if you want to see the statistics of the first email or the follow-up email, you can see that right here in the activity feed. You also have some nice little charts here if you want to look at that. So the analytics are very powerful. They are very granular. Also, if you want to see which step, which variant of this step did better than the other ones, you can just select them and check the statistics for each individual one, and then you'll be able to see them. So that's the gist of it. As soon as you're done here, we'll go back to our demo campaign right here that we are setting up. Again, sending queue and all the stuff is the same. Analytics will be 0 because it's a brand new campaign. Now we'll go back and we'll check one more time. We have our contacts, yes. Our mail accounts, Oscar, yes. Our options, our reply to options are there, yes. We want to prioritize follow-ups, yes. The schedule is looking good. Time zone is there. Custom, let's say we want to do now working hours. We'll just click here. It'll save up. That looks good. Yes. We take a look at our sequences. We have our sequence here. We are A/B split testing this. Let's say we find out that we really don't want to do this, so we'll delete the sequence right here. Now it goes back to having just a single one, and then we can test this if we want to, right? Everything looks good now, so I'm quite happy with it. I'm ready to send this campaign. All I need to do is hit the magic button to start the campaign, and Firstsales is going to start trying to schedule these. It's going to start showing up in the sending queue very, very soon, depending on how many contacts you have available. So right now, Firstsales is going to go to the contacts to see, hey, which contacts are available for this, and it's going to start showing them here. Once you start planning it, it'll plan the next sent that is going to happen in about 7 hours from now, because of the timing that we added. So if, let's say that we go to the scheduler and we change the time zone, so for an example, Kolkata, India, and we save that, and let's say we go back to our sending queue. Now, as you can see, the schedule allows sending at the moment. So what this is going to do is now is going to start planning, is going to start sending, because the timing is within the allowed scheduled time. All this happens in real time. I didn't have to stop the campaign and restart it or anything like that. All I have to do is make the changes that I want. Firstsales makes the changes on the fly. That's how powerful this tool is. This tool has allowed us to reach out to hundreds of thousands of new leads for all of our businesses. We use it on a daily basis. I use it personally on a daily basis. I'm totally in love with it. And I hope that after going through this tutorial series, you can see the power of Firstsales and how it can help you fill your pipeline with hot leads. So, thank you again for sticking to the end of the video. Thank you for sticking till the end of the series. I'm happy to have been able to help you. Again, if you have any questions at any point of time about how to set up your campaign, even best practices, or even if you just want to show us your copy and you want our opinion on it, we're right here for you. All you have to do is click here on the bottom right of your screen. You hit us up on the chat, or you can hit us up on our support email right here. You can also check out our knowledge base that has a lot of in-depth tutorials about how to do different things. We are also releasing that cold email masterclass version 2.0. That's coming up very, very soon, where we will dive deep into how to create cold email sequences that get opens, that get into the inbox, that get you prospects. So all that is coming up. Exciting time to be part of Firstsales. I'm so happy and glad that you are part of it, and I'm glad that you are here in this journey with us together. Let's keep growing, let's keep winning, and let's keep filling our pipelines with hot leads, guys. I'll see you in the next one.